Hey everybody, it's Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Let's talk about our quick moving system heading our way tonight. And most of us are just going to see rain, and even areas that are going to see some snow in the mountains and foothills, and maybe even in the Piedmont in a few locations. It could fall from the sky, but it's not going to stick. It's going to have a tough time causing many issues unless you're in the North Carolina mountains. So let's get right to the wider view here because you can see what's going on. Here's the part of the system. We got one system here and one system here. There's two frontal boundaries. This is kind of why it's not really going to crank up until it gets past us. We've got this wave which is formed on this old cold front here. The low is actually back here, but it's this upper level system that has the cold air with it. Now, when these two come together, we call that phasing. The problem is that phasing doesn't really happen till here and beyond us. So the fact that it's kind of doing that on the way here or over us really limits the amount of cold air and really snow that we're going to see because temperatures are really super marginal. And what I mean by marginal, whenever you hear me say that, it's because I'm referring to the temperatures just not being cold enough for wintry weather. And here's a quick look at the temperatures right now. You can see 30s and 40s. The really cold air is to the north, and there is some drier air over us. What dry air is important because if you get some dry air, you can at least evaporatively cool things down a little bit. But let me show you the current watches and warnings we have in effect. Real quickly, we'll show you where all the current winter weather advisories, watches, etc. We'll zoom in here. You can see the winter storm warnings. That's that pink shade, which is basically all the mountain counties. And look how these extend all the way up into the northeast, because that's kind of where the system is going to go. But closer in, you can see some of the counties to the south and east of the warning are currently under a winter weather advisory. That includes Cleveland County, Lincoln. I really think it's going to be a marginal setup in these areas. I think even if you see snowfall, especially in here, it's just going to be melting so quickly. I don't think we'll see much accumulation. I really think it's going to be up in these areas where we see the primary accumulation. So let's get right to what's going to happen today. All right, so here we go. Here's our Futurecast. You can see our system, really complex system. The two pieces of energy, one right in here, the other one back in here. And again, this is about early this afternoon. A lot of this is not going to be reaching the ground. The model's indicating increasing moisture, but remember, the temperatures are in the 40s and 50s. We've got dew points in the teens and 20s, so this is going to be evaporating. So it's going to cool the air, but it's also going to cause a lot of this not to reach the ground until probably, I'm thinking after sunset. I really think that's the time frame. So we'll zoom in closer. Notice the disconnect. The low pressure here and here still have not synced up, and that's why you're seeing such a disconnect on where this is. So I'm going to go through time. We'll go slowly this evening. And really, 7, 8 o'clock, you see a little bit of snow and probably sleet. Anytime you see what we call bright banding, two things are happening. The radar or the model is indicating either wet, heavy snow, which bounces the radar beam quicker, or it's sleet, which is hard and solid and bounces back the radar beam more efficiently. So this is likely a snow-sleet mix. So that's why I said we could see snow or sleet fall, especially at the beginning of this. But as the evening rolls on, what happens is that low pressure our south is pumping in warm air at around 3,000 to 5,000 feet, and that kind of shuts off any rain or any sleet or snow chances pretty quickly. And you see the snow gets confined to that area, that kind of wedge area between Asheville to the state line, the Virginia state line, to up towards Flat Top Mountain and then down towards the Hickory area. It's kind of like that area we see the snow kind of hold on. And you can see going through the overnight, the bulk of this falls overnight. So this isn't going to wash out today. It's not going to wash out Sunday either. It's going to fall while we sleep, which is kind of nice. And notice how quickly, even in the areas where we're predicting snow, it doesn't stay there very long. So I am not very big on this system. I do think somewhere in the mountains that's high enough, like Beach, Grandfather, those areas could stay snowed the whole time. That's going to give you some big totals. Areas to see mixing in rain, just not going to happen. So 7 a.m. tomorrow, you see the system kind of moving away, and by 9 or 10 in the morning, it's gone. And you could see this is now the system phasing. This is where you're getting a legit snowstorm, and you see this. Area that was hit last week, again, gets a quick burst. Now, this is a much faster moving system, but the fact that it's moving through so quickly is the only reason they're not going to see more snow. So let me show you this. I'm going to loop this whole thing and watch this thing come together after it goes through us. Did you see that? Let me back it up here. So we got two separate systems, one here and one here. Watch what happens as they push east. They kind of are just getting their act together right when they move up into Virginia. And then it moves up the coast, and that becomes our system. So as far as amounts, I really can't stray too far from my forecast last night. I think this is you better get out there quick to see some of that snow right there because it'll be melting quickly. Temperatures, even as the snow falls east of the mountains, will be above freezing. So it'll be a race to get accumulating snows before it melts. And like in full transparency, I like to show you the model blender of what all the guidance is showing for snowfall. And you can see it's pretty much close to mine. I'm going to go through Sunday afternoon. We'll stop it just in case any lingering snow. But you can see big goose eggs east of the mountains. Yeah, there's some showing up. But when you're seeing 1/10 of an inch in the guidance, this doesn't account for compaction and melting. So I don't expect a lot. You see the brushies up here and the South Mountains. That's really why elevation is important. That's what that little bullseye is. That's the South Mountain State Park, and these are the brushy mountains. So, and then Pilot Mountain, look at that showing up. So elevation's key in this situation. If you're not in the mountains, you're not going to see this system really do much of anything. So let me quickly turn all this off, and we'll go back to what's happening currently, because I think it's important to show you the current position of everything. There it is. Let me turn on the fronts. We'll show those real quickly. Hopefully they show. And we'll see that this system is going to be moving to the east pretty quickly. As I loop this a couple times, you can kind of see the movement of all this. It'll be heading our way tonight through tomorrow morning, and then we'll start talking about next week. I know everyone's like, the models are all over the place. Let me just tell you, next week, this pattern's chaotic. This system didn't really get its act together till about 46 hours ago. So the potential of this system being next week still being there, and the guidance is kind of wishy-washy. I joked earlier, I think what's going on with the guidance right now, that joke you've probably have seen it, is, North Carolina right now, it's like the lottery. They're just throwing numbers out there, and everyone's going to lose. So we'll keep an eye on that pattern next week, but it's still a possibility of some cold and snow next week. But I'll be honest with you, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. Have a great weekend, everybody.